Good morning. I'm Diane Eicher, and our service leader today is Reverend Todd Glacy. We're happy to have him back in the pulpit here. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Saco and Biddeford. We also want to welcome those joining us on YouTube and encourage you to have a candle or chalice to light when we light ours here in a few moments. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we are glad you are here with us today. The theme for today is truth. We invite you to carry that theme with you as you are with us today and into your daily life when you leave here. We strive to be a green sanctuary. It gives roots and wings to our vision of a world where all people build toward a sustainable future and make reverence, gratitude, and care for the living earth central to our lives. We want to acknowledge that our building sits on the unceded land of the Wabanaki Confederation, which includes the Abenaki, Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot nations. We invite you to take home the order of service for information and announcements, or you may leave it for recycling as you leave the sanctuary. Our current COVID guidelines are on the back page. There will be a social hour in the parish hall after the service. Please join us. Please join me as we light the chalice. Promise. Gather together. In harmony with the divine.
So good morning. Good morning. Ah. When you wake up and it's rainy outside, you just feel like, I don't even want to get out of bed. But here we are, so thanks for being here. So I would like to invite you to join me in the welcoming in a little bit of a ritual. If anybody's ever done yoga, there's a thing that we do at the end of a yoga class, which is putting our hands in prayer position and saying namaste. And for those of you that don't know, namaste, generally speaking, means that divine essence within me recognizes and celebrates that same divine essence within you. And so figured we'd do a little song together and we can practice this. So I'll sing it through once, and then what I will invite us to do is stand up and you can sing it with me and maybe turn and look at each other and we can share the blessing of namaste with each other. So. Namaste, namaste, namaste. God in you, God in me. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste, namaste. We are one. We are one. Namaste. Let's try singing that together. Namaste. God in you, God in me. Namaste. 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 We are one. Now I invite you to stand up. You can put your hands in the prayer position, the mudra, and I invite you to sing to each other. Namaste. Namaste. God in you, God in me. Namaste. 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 We are one. Yes, we are one.
This is the time in our service when we get to share what's in our hearts, whether they be great joys or deep sorrows. It is not a time for announcements or political statements. If you wish, please come forward to light a candle. Tell us your name if you'd like, and share your joy or sorrow with us if you choose to do so. Please hold the mic straight in front of you, parallel to the floor, and speak clearly into the mic so you can be heard through the sound system to those on YouTube.
My name is Randa. My pronouns are she, her. I have lit a candle for my friend Nancy Knights, who is on hospice. I haven't heard updates. And then there's a piece of that during COVID, when Nancy was in assisted living, I did not see her, and I haven't seen her since. And I could have. And there's that guilt and sadness that I didn't make that extra effort.
Morning, everybody. My name is Patrick. Joy is this morning. It is my birthday. It is my... So I will celebrate. Also, the sadness is that I have a friend of mine who has a dog, and some neighbors gave him some drugs, forced it down his throat. So I'm going to pray for this wonderful dog, and it's dear to my heart. So hopefully he'll be okay. Thank you.
My name is Trevor. As I mentioned before, my uncle's battling prostate cancer, and the experimental trial he was in failed, and he had to withdraw. They enrolled him in another trial, but the drug eliminated all his platelets, so he had to withdraw from that as well. So we're pretty much in the end of the road, wait and see what happens mode. So if you could keep him in your thoughts and prayers, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Donna. Yesterday, Betsy and I went to Wyndham to visit with my 99-year-old aunt who has dementia and is certainly slipping, but still lives on her own with some help. I took up some videos, old videos and tapes, and I played for her a 1961 tape of an Easter service in the North Wyndham Church, with my uncle and someone else singing with him this most beautiful song. And to watch my aunt listen to that and recognize her husband and to sit there in prayer and recognition was just beautiful.
Good morning. My name is Melissa. I had the great privilege of, in my previous congregation, to be a co-leader in an organization called the Bread of Life, which provided a food pantry and meals for people in the city of Malden, Massachusetts. My dear great friend is now in hospice, Tom Fagley, who is the director of Bread of Life. He has cancer of the esophagus. So I'd like you to keep him in your prayers. But I have the great joy of having the ability to bring to him tomorrow some Maine blackberry ice cream. So I look forward to visiting with him.
Good morning, I'm Doreen Spirito. I lit a candle this morning for Marilyn and Al, who are starting a trek to Iowa, and asking for prayers for Marilyn's healing from her fall. And also, I light the candle also for all those who struggle with mental illness, including myself.
As I light one last candle for the joys and sorrows left unspoken, let us hold all of these requests and thoughts in our hearts.
So to lead into my talk this morning, I'd like to start off with a piece of music. So I invite you to settle in and be the love that you are. Now feel the love that you are. Feel the love that you are. Open up your heart. Open up your heart and feel the love that you are. Now the love that you are. Be the love that you are. Open up your heart. Open up your heart and be the love that you are. Open up your heart. Sing with me. Open up your heart. Open up your heart, big and wide. Open up your heart, keep it going. Open up your heart to the love that you are. To the love that you are. To the love that you are. The love that you are. All right, so did you feel it? Yeah, a little bit. So what is truth? Anybody have the answer? You do? Well, on some level, we probably all do, or think we do, or know we do. And as I progress on my path of being a... oops, let me set my timer first, because I tend to talk too long, so this will keep me honest. Yeah, so truth, I mean, this is a topic that I've been sort of exploring and obsessing with for a while now. Just feeling like it's one of those huge questions that so much, I mean, you hear about truth all over the place, right? And we're told that something's true and was, but do we ever really explore what that means? And so I just want to say up front that what is truth ends with a question mark, and that's my takeaway from what we'll be talking about today. So I don't have the answer, but I invite us on this journey of exploring what it means. So in your handouts, you notice there's a poem. So I spent a lot of time, there's so many ways to address this question, and somehow, maybe, we were talking about coincidence earlier, how things tend to happen just when you need them to, or like there's all this coincidence and synchronicity when you pay attention to it. And so as I was putting this talk together, I came upon this poem. And I'd never heard of Archibald Lampman before, and I did a little bit of research, and he was this sort of obscure Canadian poet who lived in the late 1800s. But as I read through this poem, thinking about putting a talk together on what is truth, for me, an indicator that I've come to trust is if something is true for me, it brings tears to my eyes. It's not tears of sadness, it's just this tears of, whatever it is. So what I wanted to do is walk us through this poem and just explore some of what Mr. Lampman is talking about and see how that might apply to us. And I also think that as I've gone through this many times, he actually gives us a practice for discerning truth and helping it be more useful in our lives, okay? So if you have your poems, you can read along. I'll read it through once and then we'll go back and sort of discuss it. Friend, though thy soul shall burn thee, yet be still. Thoughts were not meant for strife, not tongues for swords. He that sees clear is gentlest in his words. And that's not truth that hath the heart to kill. The whole world's thought shall not one truth fulfill. Dull in our age and passionate in youth, no mind of man hath found the perfect truth, nor shalt thou find it. Therefore, friend, be still. Watch and be still, not hearken to the fool, the babbler of consistency and rule. Wisest is he who, never quite secure, changes his thoughts for the better day by day. Tomorrow, some new light will shine, be sure, and thou shalt see thy thoughts another way. All right. So, friend, though thy soul shall burn thee, yet be still. So I'll speak from my own experience, since that's the only thing I'm an expert at. And how many have had that burning in their soul? Some might call it being triggered. Right? I make a regular practice of triggering my burning in my soul every time I get on social media. Anytime I read a paper, anytime any of these things happen, right? You notice that. So what we're talking about here is becoming aware of when we have this fire, when we become outraged, when we become tense, when we become angry, fearful, judgmental, all of these things, right? When my soul is burning. And the first thing we want to do is, in spite of all of that, yet be still. Okay? I was a school guidance counselor for many years, and we taught stress reduction to kids. And the very first thing we taught them was, you have to calm yourself down. You have to breathe. Your body's nervous system is wired to be in fight or flight or relaxation, and you can't think clearly when you're stressed out. So, yet be still. Thoughts were not meant for strife. So think about that one for a minute. I encourage you, if you don't, this is what meditation is. What meditation, at its most fundamental practice, is taking the time to witness our thoughts. without being caught up in it. The Buddhists have a word called shenpa, and shenpa means stickiness. And when you start practicing awareness or meditation or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, you start noticing that certain thoughts have a little bit more stickiness to them than others. And it's different for each person, of course, but start noticing these thoughts that kind of take over your consciousness, right? And notice if those thoughts are causing you strife, because that's where strife comes from. That's where stress comes from. It comes from what we're thinking about, okay? And what he's saying here is that thoughts were not meant for strife. Our ability of our human brains to think and reason and process and make meaning and find patterns, all these things, it doesn't necessarily serve us when our thoughts are full of things that cause us stress and anxiety, okay? So we want to notice those, because that's not when we're making the best use of our thought power, our creativity, okay? Thoughts were not meant for strife. It's not to separate us from one another. You know, we did namaste earlier. It's how do I come together? How do I be a part of versus shut myself down because my thoughts cause me strife? And not tongues for swords. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? Our words were not meant to cut each other down. Our words were not meant to make other people's lives less beautiful and fulfilling. So we want to pay attention to that. He that sees clear is gentlest in his or her words. All right. So what this is saying to me is that kindness is the closest thing to real truth, okay? He that sees clear is gentlest in his words. So now, I'm sure everybody watches something on social media or TV, right? And what I have noticed is that, and I've spent many years in media as well, and you notice that the people that get the most attention, how are they communicating? Are they communicating in a kind, gentle way? Or are they like, right? And for some reason, as people in a society, we have allowed this and we reward this. The louder, the more obnoxious, the more controversial I am, the more attention I get. And the people that follow me think that I have some sort of truth to offer them, right? And we can find truth wherever we want to. It's up to us. We have to discern what is true and what is not for ourselves. But these people that are blasting this crap out into the world and trying to infect our mind with it, these are the ones we want to pay attention to. We want to pay attention to who are we listening to, right? Who are we giving our attention to? And according to this, those that are the loudest, most obnoxious, most high volume, I would call it, are probably not the closest to real truth. So that's why we want to seek out those people and give our attention to those that are kind of, more kind, I guess. Kindness really is a good indicator. All right. So pay attention to the gentle ones when possible, because those are the ones that are probably closer to truth. All right. And that's not truth that hath the heart to kill. So how many people here would be willing to kill or die for something that you believe to be true? Yeah, think about that. Would you be willing to kill another human or sacrifice your own life for something that you believe to be true? All right, so according to the poem, that is not truth that has the heart to kill. So let's think about that one, all right? Because this is where we're getting deep into, if I'm willing to take a life, what is the thought behind that? What is my need? What is my my compulsion? What drives that? Because we see so much of the violence in this world is caused by people killing for belief systems, right? Religion is a perfect example, right? How many people have fought, killed, and died in the name of some religious belief system that they thought was true? Right? This is really heavy, and I'm going to kind of leave it there. But again, this is asking us and inviting us to question this. What is it, and why is it that I have a thought that I believe to be true, that I am so strong in my holding on to or belief that I would be willing to kill or die for it? Dull in our age and passionate in youth. So as I was reading this, I thought, dull in our age. I just turned 60 a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like as I get older, I'm not getting duller. I like the word wise in our age, curious in my age, dull. I mean, I would let you put your own adjective in there. But definitely passionate in our youth. I mean, we all remember what that passion of youth feels like, right? But whether we are old and think I'm wise, or whether I'm passionate and zealous about my beliefs and what I think is true and sharing that with the world, or putting it out there, because when we find something that we think is true, we want to share it. We want everybody else to believe it, because for us it serves some purpose. Maybe it feels good, maybe it explains something, right? And we want to share that. We become evangelical in whatever our current belief is, right? But according to this, no mind of man or woman or any being in between hath found the perfect truth. So here's where it kind of breaks down. So when we think about truth, as I've thought about this, there's subjective truth, which we all know, like, my version of truth is subjective. We could all experience or witness something and have different ideas about what happened and what is true and what's not true, okay? So truth on a huge majority of the time is subjective, right? What's true for me might not be true for you. And then we think about objective truth, and this is where we also run into problems, because objective truth is where we're trying to find things that we can all agree on are consistent, are true, right? And what's been interesting for me growing, so I was born in the 60s, grew up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and still growing. But it seems to me that as I was growing up and walking my life path, I always had this thought that, the majority of the world thinks and believes the way I do, For example, civil rights. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, civil rights, it was taken care of in the 60s, everybody has equal rights, everything's fine. There might be a few racists living somewhere down in the woods somewhere, but on the most part, the vast majority of us are all on board with this idea of, social justice and whatever these other things are that we want to focus on. But what I've come to notice in the last decade, and I'm sure you have too, is that it's a lot bigger. I'm trying to explain. So, my point of view isn't as pervasive as I thought it was. We've seen that in our culture, in our society. We see how our culture is getting more and more divided. And whereas I was always thinking that we're coming together, we're moving forward, it seems like we've taken these huge steps backwards from my perspective. But the reality is that there's a huge amount of people that have different belief systems and different truths than I do. And so what's happening is the strife and the struggle and all that stuff. And I don't have an answer for that, because majority rule doesn't necessarily mean something is true, right? I mean, we think about in the past, it was majority rule that the sun revolved around the earth. and everybody believed that. And so just because the majority believes it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So for me, it becomes this really open question of what is objective truth, You have people, there's this whole flat earth movement. I mean, it's like, and one of the things that I find, whether it's religion, politics, any of these beliefs, that for me to try to convince somebody that they are wrong, my compulsion to convince myself and them that I am right, it never really works, right? You ever try and have a conversation with somebody who has a belief system that's diametrically opposed to yours? And so trying to win that war, for lack of a better word, is kind of futile, I think, because, and that's why we have wars. And if you force your opinion on somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're buying into it and believe it. So what we're talking about here for me, so we're in church. Let's talk about the big truth, all right? We're talking about perfect truth. And what we're saying here is that no mind hath found the perfect truth. So for me, what we're talking about is God, right? And one of the things that, as a spiritual, mystical explorer, it's very often stated that anything that can be named or explained is not it, right? Once you try to put a name on it, like we put the word name God on what this thing is, okay? But once we try to name it or try to explain it, it's not it, because we can't contain it. We can't. It's something beyond words. It's something beyond all these things, this ultimate truth. It's the mystery, right? And we live in this mystery. And one of the things that is really interesting here, because, as humans, we want meaning. We want to know why things are. We want to identify things, and we, need to explain things. But the last part of this, first part of this poem says, "Nor shalt thou find it. Therefore, friend, be still." So when I came across that, and I was thinking about this need, this compulsion for me to figure things out and to, what is truth? What is it? Right? And then I thought, maybe I don't need to know. Maybe it's beyond my knowing. Maybe that's not my purpose. Maybe that's like I'm wasting energy trying to figure something out that is unfigure-outable in this human capacity, because it's so much more than anything my brain and my mind can even begin to comprehend, right? And so when I let go of the need to know, it's like it felt to me like this weight being taken off my shoulder, right? All of a sudden it's like, what if I let go of the need to know? That frees me up, right? It frees me up so that when I go in and I sit with my thoughts, and I sit with my being, my essence, my reality, I don't have this compulsion. The mind can relax itself when I say, okay, it's okay, you don't need to know this. As a matter of fact, we can't know it, so let's let it go. And if you do that, I think you'll notice there's sort of this relaxation. And so then, we can relax. Watch and be still, not hearken the fool, the babbler of consistency and rule. So when we are able to become witness consciousness and watch our thoughts, right? So there's two ways I was interpreting this. Watch, be still, not hearken the fool, the babbler of consistency and rule. That could be the outside babbler of consistency and rule and fool. We see that all over the place, right? Social media. There's so much coming at us. But the even more important thing to focus on is the mind, right? This in here, this is the fool, the babbler of consistency and rule. And so I need to notice that, but not necessarily be sucked into it, okay? Wisest is he who never quite secure. So this is the tipping point almost. Can we live with not knowing? Can we live in the mystery? Can we allow ourselves to be okay with not having a definitive answer? Right? I saw the David Bowie movie recently, Moon Age Daydream. I don't know if anybody's a David Bowie fan, but this movie was really interesting, and it was just the narration was just him talking, and he was talking about as an artist, how as people we desire and we crave consistency, control, meaning. You know, we feel more safe and secure when we think we know. And the thing we don't like is chaos, uncertainty, not knowing. And this is one of the issues with the human condition, is that most people, or many people, or some people, when they don't know, it is so uncomfortable that then they will believe anything just to feel better, right? And we have to be careful of that. You know, why am I buying into a specific thought or belief, okay? Is it because it makes me feel better because I don't want to be uncomfortable in the unknowing? Or is it something else? But anyway, the point is, Bowie was talking about, and as an artist and musician myself, I really appreciate this, that is the place where artists love to be, right? That uncertainty, that unknowing, the chaos, because that's where inspiration comes from, right? If you're just regurgitating the same thing over and over, you become stale. Like as an artist and a musician, it's like, oh, I know these chords work together and I just use them all the time. It's like boring, right? But where does the new stuff come from? It comes from this chaos. And so my invitation to you is to maybe practice or allow yourself to sit with that uncertainty, with that unknowing, okay? It's not always easy, but it's very interesting. And again, it's balance, right? We need both. Okay, so let me just wrap this up real quick. Wisest is he who, never quite secure, changes his thoughts for better day by day. That right there is the key to the whole thing, right? This is the practice. This is what we can do. This is what we can have control over, is that as I go through my day and I notice my thoughts and my reactions to my thoughts, I have choice. This is what we have as humans. We have a choice. I can choose what feels better, right? Not necessarily in a delusional way, but when I really tune in, right, to my divine vibration, so to speak, what is it that feels good for me, and how can I keep moving in that direction? Because that direction is towards love, kindness, compassion. These things feel better, right? And so that's the practice. Change my thoughts for better day by day, because tomorrow some new light will shine. Be sure, it always does. And thou shalt see thy thoughts another way, right? So basically it's talking about keeping an open mind. The worst thing that we can do is close off our mind to new possibilities, to new truths, to new information, right? We want to keep an open mind so that we can be flexible and move and not, be caught up in holding on to something just for our own security, okay? Curiosity and an open mind. All right, so I'm going to move into a piece of music here, but what I'd like us to do is maybe just take a moment to go into some meditation practice. And so as we were told here, a method that is really good for practicing is to be still, let go of the need to know. In each moment, notice and change my thoughts for the better, more towards love. And then finally, stay curious, keep an open mind, and question everything. Okay? All right, so I invite you to just sort of, if you want, you can close your eyes. We'll honor a moment of silence. Allow yourself to just be still. Let go of the need to know. Notice whatever thoughts come into your awareness and see how they feel. And see if you can maybe find a way to interpret or modify that thought or choose another thought that feels better. There is a knowing that cannot be explained. There is a knowing that cannot be contained. And I am willing to be willing to surrender. Yes, I am willing to be willing to surrender to not knowing. There is a knowing that cannot be contained. There is a knowing that cannot be explained. And I am willing to be willing to surrender. Yes, I am willing to be willing to surrender. Oh, I am willing to be willing to surrender to not knowing. So at this point, I wanted to have a placard with a giant question mark on it that I was going to hold up and say, let that be our truth. But anyway, thank you so much for humoring me.
When we gather together as a community, we bring the gifts of ourselves, our hearts and spirits, our time and energy, our talents and skills to support the work of this church here within our walls and out in the larger community. We also bring our gift of generosity, giving of what we have so that the work of this church may continue. As always, half of our offering today will be sent out into the larger community to support the work of an agency or organization that is making a difference in our world. This month, we are sharing our offering with York County Community Action. If you are watching from home on YouTube, donations may be made by clicking the PayPal link in the video description, or checks may be mailed to UUCSB, 60 School Street, Saco. Please be generous as the ushers collect this morning's offering. As we release this flame
from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us
to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight,
to light
our
our paths
paths
today,
today,
tomorrow,
and always.
All right, so since spring is almost in the air, I was actually in Massachusetts a week ago, and spring has definitely hit there, so it is coming. But wanted to share one last song with you so we can go out on a little bit of an optimistic note. And this song is really all about choice, and I'm sure you'll know it, so you can feel free to join in. There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though you meet with darkness and strife, the sunny side we all may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It'll help us every day. The storm and its fury broke today, crushing hopes we cherish so dear. Clouds and storm will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It'll help us every day. It'll bring let us greet with a song of hope each day. Though the moments be cloudy or fair, let us trust in our Savior always, to keep us everyone in His care. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It'll help us every day. So may the sun shine bright in your hearts, and may we share that light of love and peace and kindness and compassion with the rest of the world. And may that be the truth of what we're here for. So thank you all very much. So I believe there is coffee hour, right? Yes. The best part.